Okay. Good Wednesday morning to everyone.
Morning.
Good morning. I'm Ashton Stewart. I'm Veterans Program Manager for MJHS. And thanks to MJHS for hosting the Vets Vet Cafe today. And we also want to extend a deep thank you to Hakeem Jeffries and his staff for allowing us to host this event here in the Shirley Chisholm Building in Brooklyn, New York. It's an amazing history, with Shirley Chisholm, and we're going to make history today. Jonah Warner, the Congressional Green and Gold, thank you. Congressional Aide, veteran, U.S. Navy. Thank you so much. I want to pass it to you before we really dig deeper into this program. I'll just say a few words. Good
morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I do want to thank Ashton as well. He and I have been talking about this event, and he's run plenty of these without our help. But we've been talking about this for months, and it's great to finally have this opportunity to have such an important conversation about veterans' mental health and the importance of community in combating that. As we just recently celebrated Memorial Day, it's important to me in particular, but to all veterans and to all Americans to celebrate not just those that were lost while they were serving our nation, but those that were tragically lost afterwards. I come from the nuclear Navy. I want to say nothing negative about the nuclear Navy. Love the program, but it has had struggles with mental health, and that's active duty. So I want to make sure, and the congressman wants to make sure, that we as a community, we as a government, we as a people provide the services that we need to veterans to help them when they're not feeling proud, when they're not feeling thanked and appreciated as they should every day. So I want to thank Ashton. I want to thank the National Association of Black Military Women. I want to thank Black Veterans for Social Justice and all the great community partners and community members that have joined us here today. We're going to make history, as Ashton said, but more importantly, we're going to make a difference. We're going to have, I hope, an honest conversation about what works, what doesn't, and how we can move forward and keep our brothers and sisters in arms safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jonah. Yes, this is a conversation about veterans' mental health and the power of community. And I just want to take a moment to thank some people who have joined us here today in person. Major retired Louise Nixon, thank you for being here. Has she shown up yet? She's the Northeastern Regional Director of the National Association of Black Military Women. Jeffrey Montoya, thank you for being here. Another Congressional Aide for New York District 14, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And Sebastian Neem, thank you also for representing Speaker Adrian Abbott's office locally in the New York City Council. May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. It's Memorial Day, when some all gave some, but some gave all. And we're recognizing that this month. And it's also Military Appreciation Month. This is a very fitting time to have a program such as this. Since 1776, the U.S. has been honoring the nearly 3 million military casualties of war. There's a lot of fallout because of military service, beyond just losing your life. For the past 22 years, there's been approximately 6,000 reported veteran suicides each and every year. This is a tragic loss for society and certainly for the grieving families and loved ones. It amounts to over 140,000 since 2001 taking their own lives. Suicide is the second leading cause for death for veterans under 45 years old. And suicide among veterans 18 to 34 has more than doubled. Most affected by this are Western states, where they have experienced the greatest increase in veteran suicide rates, seeing as much as an increase of 55%. Suicide is the leading cause of death for post 9/11 veterans. And interestingly, among veterans who served during the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, the suicide rate for those who were not deployed is 48% higher than those who were deployed. This is really significant. In 2022, 54% had no contact with the VHA in the 5 years prior to their death. This is why this important meeting is taking place, because the VA is where they know how to talk to veterans. They know how to connect the veterans to services. They know how to connect you to the community. And in Brooklyn, we've got two of the most prominent veteran groups represented here today would be VSJ and the National Association of Black Military Women. I'm so honored to be joined by Wendy McClinton and Dr. Suggs. We're going to present in just a little bit to address some of the causes of suicide ideation, including some of the newer identified reasons like military sexual trauma, traumatic brain injury, and certainly PTSD, and the challenges that go along with transitioning from military service back into the civilian sector. It's a real challenge for a lot of people. They get out of the military and suddenly they have all the responsibility is on their shoulders. They have to find a job, they have to figure out how to keep their bills paid, and they have to figure out how to adjust to society. And it's not easy. And so this is why it's so important to have community leaders to not only address these things, but bring people into the fold, talk about these things in the community, share the history of people who have served, and allow the veterans who just got out to share their stories, because this is what it's all about, and this is how we're going to succeed. I am so proud to be part of the MJHS team. Not every organization hires veterans, and MJHS not only hires veterans, but they acknowledge their service and they work really hard to make sure that there's things put out on Memorial Day and Veterans Day. We march in the Veterans Day parade. We're also doing some very innovative programs, including a pocket card that we are about to launch to address the shortcomings of public and private providers working with the veteran population. A RAND study in 2018 identified less than 3% of providers are culturally competent to work with veterans, and this is a huge issue. Our solution to this is empower the social workers, empower the clinicians with the questions that should be asked. You don't ask, are you a veteran? Because sometimes people who serve, it's not a comfortable identity to own. Did you serve? Yes, I did serve, but I'm not a veteran. Okay, there's the beginning. Okay, tell me more about that. You got to get that trust, and then you start to discover things. Then suddenly you can connect them to a veteran service officer. They can get benefits. They can get appropriate care at the VA. They can get connected to all these wonderful resources through government and through nonprofit organizations. And so I'm going to turn it over now. I'm not going to talk all day. I want Wendy McClinton, who's going to address the Staff Sergeant Parker Gordon Fox Suicide Prevention Program at BVSJ. They've had a lot of great success with this program, and here to share some of that history and what's happening next is Wendy McClinton.
Thank you so much to Josh, to Ashton, to the National Association of Black Military Women, and to each and every one of you in your respective places, and to each and every veteran here. Thank you so much for your service that you provide. And if you don't know, Black Veterans for Social Justice is a not-for-profit based out of Brooklyn, New York, and on April 17th, we turned 46 years old. We service veterans, their family, and the community, all veterans, no matter what your discharge is, in the areas of employment, social readjustment, community, work environment, and also in housing. So whichever way the veteran is affected or touched, BVSJ meets them where they're at with tender loving care and a listening ear. But what I want to speak to you about, what I did forget to do, can't speak about it if I can't see it, right? I just want to talk to you about one of the programs that we do have within Black Veterans for Social Justice, which is the Staff Sergeant Fox Veteran Wellness Program. It's funded through the United States Department of Veteran Affairs and provides resources for community-based suicide prevention efforts to meet the needs of veterans, their families, in partnership with Black Veterans Social Justice. Now, that's the definition of what Staff Sergeant Fox is. But what it does, and you have our staff that are here in the back, it meets those veterans where they're at, meaning whether it's 24/7, however, through telephone, through technology, through one-on-one contact, and it's meeting them to let them know that there is hope, that there is a cure, there is a fix for what you're feeling, and that we can work through our case managers, through the other resources within the community to get them through this very difficult time within their lives. I'm gonna call Martin Congo and also from the Staff Sergeant Rios. Our other staff is in the back if you want more information, more literature about the program, statistics and all those criteria. You could join them in the back and they'll definitely give that to you. But our Chief Operating Officer, Martin Congo, is coming and he's gonna go more deeper into the program of Staff Sergeant Fox.
Wendy, can you hear me? All right. Hi, Martin Trongo, Chief Operating Officer, FS. First introductions, Director of Sergeant Fox Program, Mr. Jose Rios, please stand up. Leaders Case Manager with the phone, Ms. Boyer. Standing next to her, Mr. Alejandro, and in the back, Jasmine Smith and Shamel Glosser, case manager. First of all, Malika Muhammad, our outreach specialist. Okay. And Frank Farmer, who helps us with outreach, who always does good things for Black Cats. Am I missing anybody? Yes. I'm sorry, who am I missing? Okay, good. This is what's most important about that, and then I'll get into the history of Black Vets, Sergeant Fox Mental Health. Every single one of these folks are veterans. Okay? It means something that they talk the talk, some of them walk the walk, some of them have been homeless. Some of them have been down and out. And that means something, okay? Our President Wendy is a little too modest about something. In 1994, she started as a little case manager in our intensive case management, supportive case management program. She started there, all right? She had a position before that, but it was our first program. And what we did back then is not radically different from what we do today, except the concepts are a little bit more sophisticated. But what Wendy did, again, why was she good at it? She was a veteran. Believe it or not, I actually knew her because I started about the same time she did. We took veterans with significant mental illness and substance abuse who were homeless and provided case management services. They were overwhelmingly men, few women, overwhelmingly men from shelters. And back then, and I can attest to this because I was working in the homeless field in the 90s already, the aspect of helping military veterans, many of whom who had gone through Vietnam, and you know how veterans are treated in Vietnam, was not to give special attention to veterans because, well, they didn't deserve it as much. They fought a bad war. Because the people that ran the programs, that funded the programs, folks that they didn't care for veterans. They were very anti-war. Anti-war wasn't the issue. Poverty was. Homelessness was. Substance abuse was. And the resultant PTSD, when they returned, that had people screaming on the streets wasn't being addressed. Then there was the institutionalization of the mentally ill. New York in the 70s, 80s, early 80s, the crack wasn't a pretty place for many reasons, especially for the poor. And one of the faces that was out there that wasn't being addressed was homelessness. And groups like Black Vets, others, but groups like Black Vets petitioned the VA, who was doing nothing. Before employment programs, there's the Department of Labor to help the homeless. There was nothing. Before there was a social services for veteran families program to help homeless vets, there was nothing. There was medical, otherwise there was nothing. And once these programs started, there was great work done in the community. Give credit to the VA as they finally picked up with groups like Black Vets and others throughout the country were already doing. Help vets one-on-one as vets, get jobs, get employment, bring them in from the cold, understand their story. Critical. It wasn't just a clinical issue. It was a holistic issue that to this day is really what Sergeant Fox is all about. Started just a few years ago, after the VA did the social services for veteran families homelessness program. It knew there was an issue with suicide problems. The veteran suicide is 50% above the civilian population. Everyone always heard the statistics of 18, 19, 20 people per day, but they didn't fully understand the notion of why was it 50% higher. Black vets already did, because in 1994, we were serving mentally ill people. It was because they were poor. It was because there had been military sexual trauma. It's because if you have PTSD and you come out of the military, 1 out of 4 has PTSD. It takes about 2 to 3 years to get down to a lower level. But for the first 2 years or so, you're out. Gosh, have I met some people who've been out. I mean, I'm talking like, oh, you know, people next to me are jumping. You don't believe it until you see it. People who are otherwise incredibly normal, just freaking out. Others, it lasts a lifetime. One man who went through Sergeant Fox, worked with us for a number of years. He was in Lebanon in '78 when the barracks blew. Okay. He couldn't handle it. He went AWOL. He was OTH. And through Black Vets and people like Wendy, we were able to support him. And now he's an honorable vet, honorable discharge vet. Gets full medical. His family has access to resources. He's a different man. He used to be nervous all the time, bummed out. Different man. So what I'm trying to get at is when it comes to Sergeant Fox, it's different than homelessness. If you're homeless, we know where you are. You're in the shelter, right? Right. We know that. If you're at risk of suicide, you could be our veteran advisory group's best friend who jumped off the George Washington Bridge with a $70,000 job, had a kid, and the only thing his best friend ever knew was that his mother did love him, whatever that means. He was a veteran, stressed, couldn't handle life very well. A lot of things were going well. Most people who kill themselves are average people. Now, most veterans who kill themselves are either elderly, Vietnam era, just returned 2 years. People with military sexual trauma, 90% of the time women to 10% of the time. One or two other groups. Oh, and we just found out the homeless and people with low income. All right. The groups that Black Vets has helped for 50 years are people with low income. All right. It helps people with mental illness. It helps people with sexual trauma. We don't do it clinically, but we help them every day. And the reason we help them most every day is because we are served by veterans who know something. They care more and they know more. experience. So what I wanted is just to sum up with, Black Vets has been around a long time. We have a history with this stuff. We go out into the community because we can't find everybody. We can go out places like this. It's people like you who know people who are at risk. We know where to go, but I don't think, has anyone actually killed themselves in our program yet?
That's my knowledge.
We've brought in 250 people in a couple of years. And you meet some of these folks and you can tell they're on the edge. You can tell, but most are not. But they're the risk categories who historically have committed suicide. And when they get angry and when they get drunk and when they do drugs and they no longer have pain and they have a gun nearby, they kill themselves 70% of the time. Sometimes they jump off the bridge. But we don't know. All we know is we can create community, and and Black Vets in partnership with the VA does that. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Martin. One of the things that we also must look at, it's going to take a whole lot and a whole lot of outreach to make this program to continue to work. There are different cutbacks, different funding losses, and one of the things that they're looking at are those services that deal with veterans. So we have to stay at the table, and I always say it, because if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. We need to make sure that our veterans and ourselves, and the veterans here, we're not on that menu. One of the things that we also looked at, and I'm going to be real short, that there's a big correlation between post-COVID and suicide. We lost several of our veterans, brothers and sisters during COVID. And we went to look at technology, looking at how resources, how we could meet them definitely where they're at, but make sure that the loss that we had will not happen again. So again, please continue to advocate, continue to outreach, utilize other supports, like our churches, other community-based providers, to make sure that we have other resources to support our veterans and the way they are. Thank you.
Martin and Wendy, thank you so much. You shared a lot of pieces of information there that are so important, from substance abuse to having guns. The VA does issue these safety locks that you can put on your gun, because sometimes taking that extra step to take the safety lock off your gun to do something harmful for yourself makes them think a second time. And just coming together, and the other profound thing you said is about getting recognition that what occurred to you was wrong, and getting that service-connected disability can really change your life. I've seen it, you've seen it, we've all seen it. Anybody that works with veterans and does the work, or put the application together, or even empower them with the knowledge that they can appeal and report their story and get this compensation. If you get 50% compensated or disability rated from the VA, your healthcare for everything is free. Your medications are free. If you're 70% or higher, you get free care at the New York State Veteran Nursing Home. If you're 100%, you get $3,600 a month. And any rating from 10% up, you get a financial bump. And it's helpful. It's tax-free income. And that means so much to people. And not only that, it's just the recognition from the government that, like, what occurred to you was wrong, and we're sorry, and we're going to try to make it up to you. And you're also going to get care for that condition at the VA. We have Rosie Batista today representing the New York State Department of Veteran Services, who is a veteran service officer and does amazing work to help change lives, including helping out veterans who are admitted into the St. Albans Veterans Nursing Home. I encounter veterans, she encounters veterans who are sick because of something that happened to them and they're not yet connected. Getting them that connection is so key to what we do. I work in hospice mostly, and I still am able to get veterans connected with a service disability rating. And we can transfer that to the surviving spouse through something called dependency and indemnity compensation. So that will help them going forward. It's also a tax-free financial support, about $1,600 a month. You also mentioned dementia. or I want to address dementia because it is bi-directional with PTSD, and there's more research that is being put out there showing the connection. And sometimes we encounter veterans who are in hospice and they have dementia, and suddenly their PTSD surfaces for the first time in their life. They repressed it for decades. Their loved ones who are caring for them in their homes have no idea what to do. They didn't even know their loved one had PTSD. But as we're part of the We Honor Veterans initiative, which is a national initiative with hospice providers, we have resources to show them these videos that not only help them identify PTSD, it also gives them redirection techniques to try to get them, walk them through it. You don't like try to say, oh, stop that. You let it happen, and you have to, and let them get through it and support them. So yes, Rosie's got business cards on the back table. We got a lot of resources here today. When we do get close to the conclusion of today's program, I want you to mingle with each other. Please take advantage of the resources here. We do have the Q&A feature enabled in Zoom. We're not forgetting about you out there. So, and in the room too, please, when we get to the Q&A portion of the program, please let us know some of your concerns. And I also just want to share a little bit about Wendy McClinton, because we go way back, and she's one of the first advocates I met. I've been in the space for about 8 years. It took me a long time to be comfortable with my identity as a veteran. I wear it proud now, and it's from meeting people like Wendy McClinton, who was a native daughter of New York City, where she was raised and received a formal education. While attending college at New York Institute for Technology, she decided to join the U.S. Army, where she served for a decade during the Desert Storm era. And her service, after it concluded, she found her way back to New York and started working with Black Vests for Social Justice, where she's been for over 30 years. And she's currently serving as their CEO. The story of how she got there is tragic, but she got there, and she is in such a prominent position now. And I know the Jeffries camp is a big supporter of BVSJ, and part of the reason that we were here today. And she's also the former chair of the New York City Veteran Advisory Board. She wears a lot of hats, as they say. And another group that I got connected with when I first entered the space was the National Association of Black Military Women. I was really nervous when I went to a luncheon, or it was a luncheon for Veterans Day at Gracie Mansion, and I befriended Annette Tucker Osborne. And Dr. Tucker Osborne was a former president of the Brooklyn chapter and is now the national president. And she welcomed me, and we had a chat, and since then we've stayed friends, and we support each other's work. And I thought it would be great to have a representative here today from that wonderful, amazing organization. And so now Dr. Suggs is the president of the Brooklyn chapter. Also, she's a native of North Carolina, and she's resided in New York for more than 50 years. Dr. Suggs joined the U.S. Army in 1979, which she received extensive training and accolades. She is a graduate of the United States Army Sergeant Major's Academy. She received her Bachelor's of Science in Organizational Management from Nyack College and a Master of Divinity from the New York Theological Seminary. She is a Doctor of Ministry candidate at Colgate Rochester Grozer Divinity School. Is that still happening? Are you almost there? Did you get the degree yet? Yes. All right. Congratulations. Wonderful. And Suggs joined the National Association for Black Military Women, the Brooklyn chapter, in March 2019, after serving as vice president and the national chaplain, and currently serving as president. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Dr. Suggs, share a little bit more.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Thank you, guys. The storm. I take this moment also to say thank you to Honorable Hakeem Jeffries, to my veterans, community leaders. Thank you for being here with us today and standing in the fight. It is a privilege to be here with you to talk about this significant subject, not just as a matter of policy, but of people, our veterans. We who roll the uniform carried the weight of the duty and now walk among society with invisible scars. Today I am joined here with my Vice President of the Brooklyn chapter, Melissa Jones, and our New York City chapter, President Carol St. Pierre. To represent the National Association of Black Military Women, whose mission is to tell her story, to ensure the service, sacrifice, and legacy of Black women veterans are preserved and uplifted. This organization, founded in 1976 by 21 courageous trailblazers and visionaries, they were determined to make visible the contribution of Black women, often overlooked in our military history. Today, NABMW stands 13 chapters strong. We remain a vital voice for inclusion, support, and progress for veterans. In the Brooklyn and the New York City areas, our chapters are especially active in veteran outreach, hosting community meet and greet events and women wellness seminars to make ourselves visible and create a safe and welcoming space for veterans to connect, share their experiences, and find strength in unity. On Veterans Day, we pause to celebrate veterans, making heartfelt gestures and saying, thank you for your service. But what happens after the parades end? What happens when silence falls and these individuals are left to face trauma, memory loss, or isolation alone? This brings us to our purpose here today, exploring how VA policies, groundbreaking research, and community-driven support can collectively enhance the mental well-being and quality of life for veterans, especially those grappling with traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress disorder, or dementia. The Department of Veterans Affairs, the VA, has come a long way over the past decade, with policy changing, reflecting the intricate mental health challenges veterans face. Recent initiatives such as the PACT Act implementation, telehealth modernization, and targeted suicide prevention efforts signify great progress. These policies, championed by leaders like Secretary Dennis McGowan and bipartisan lawmakers, aim to serve veterans better. But there is still much work to be done, particularly for women veterans. These policies must go further, especially when addressing the distinct needs of women veterans. Recently, some policies have faced scrutiny due to significant budget cuts. These reductions and underfunding constraints can limit the veterans' access to mental health care resources. budget restraints and firings lead to understaffed faculties, which extend the wait times for necessary care and make it challenging for veterans to get timely help. Conditions like TBI, usually resulting from blast exposure in combat, can lead to cognitive difficulties and emotional instabilities that require immediate and constant attention. Similarly, PTSD requires careful and consistent psychological intervention. Without it, symptoms can deteriorate rapidly, and consistent care is vital in maintaining quality of life and slowing progression. Despite serving at historically high rates, women veterans in particular face distinct challenges, including limited access to gender-specific care, historically overlooked in the policy discussions, women's experiences ranging from combat exposure to military sexual trauma necessitate specialized approaches, care, and attention. As we look to the future, healthcare policies and resources tailored to women's veterans are no longer optional. Access to women's mental health services, trauma-informed clinicians, and dedicated women's clinics must be more than promises. They must be delivered. And still, policy alone cannot heal. The VA system is massive. Veterans often navigate a maze of bureaucracy, which can delay care or deter them from even seeking help. Wait time, stigma, inconsistent access. These are real issues. For veterans living with cognitive or psychological impairment, these barriers can feel insurmountable. This is especially true for veterans who feel the VA has failed them. Reaching out to these individuals means meeting them where they are. Through peer-to-peer support, community outreach, and ensuring their voices are heard in every new policy discussion. I encourage partnership with churches, local centers and groups, and peer groups to re-engage with those who were once left behind. Now, to speak briefly about the science behind the suffering. We must acknowledge the indispensable role of ongoing research in understanding and addressing mental health issues affecting our veterans, especially women veterans. While policy laid the foundation, research is the cornerstone that provides the tools to build effective treatments and solutions. Studies funded by VA and the National Institute of Health have revealed critical insights. For instance, in 2020, a study found veterans with moderate TBI are more than twice as likely to develop dementia later in life. While PTSD, long considered purely psychological, but has been shown to have biological effects on brain function, sleep, and emotional regulation. These compounds the risk of anxiety, depression, substance abuse, and suicide. Women veterans in particular often face dual trauma. From combat exposure and military sexual trauma, MST. The mental health consequences are profound, and access to culturally competent, trauma-informed care remains inadequate. We need research that is inclusive of these layered realities and care models that reflect them. So when we talk about veterans struggling with mental illness, we talk about veterans suffering with memory loss, mood swings, and confusion. It's not just a matter of coping. They may be living with an overlapping set of chronic, debilitating conditions. By advancing such studies, developing innovative treatments significantly enhances the quality of life of veterans. And yet, another question remains. Are we, as a society, responding with equal depth? This brings us to the most underestimated force in a veteran's recovery. Policies and research alone cannot heal. Healing happens when veterans feel seen, valued, and supported by their communities. This is where you, us, our neighbors, friends, and local leaders play a transformative role. Support doesn't always look like therapy. Often, a helping hand sometimes can make the big difference. Sometimes it looks like a neighbor who checks in, a church that holds support meetings, a business that offers job training tailored to brain injury survivors, a local gym that offers free membership to veterans with PTSD. These simple yet powerful gestures create a sense of emotional, social, and peer support, and provide veterans with a sense of belonging and understanding. Essential for overcoming the isolation and stigma often associated with mental health struggles. Mental health is not only a clinical issue, it is a community issue. Programs like the Vet Café model are a simple yet powerful demonstration that healing is most profound in the company of those who truly understand. We must foster environments where veterans, especially women veterans, feel supported, valued, and empowered to seek the care they need. Family, friends, and local organizations can help bridge the gap between veterans' needs and services provided by offering a space where veterans feel understood and supported. When veterans transition back into civilian life, that can feel like an uphill battle for many. Their identity was wrapped in uniform, mission, and camaraderie. Reintegrating back into society is not a solo journey. For those navigating mental health conditions, having access to constant community support, whether through social clubs, family support, peer mentorships, can make all the difference. We must foster community involvement intentionally to help. a few actionable ideas is, why can't we appoint veteran liaisons in all of our major community organizations, like the libraries, and city councils? Establish mentorship programs in workplaces to support veterans with TBI and PTSD. Continue launching public education campaigns to normalize mental health treatment and reduce the stigma. Partner with faith-based and cultural groups to equip trusted spaces and veteran-specific resources. Create caregiver support groups and respite services for families of veterans. And there are some programs that are already making a significant impact. The VA's whole health program focuses on personal goals, well-being, and holistic health. The Warrior Care Network offers intensive outpatient care for PTSD and TBI in partnership with top academic medical centers. The Cohen Veteran Network provides accessible, high-quality mental health services for post-9/11 veterans and their families. Team Red, White, and Blue connects motivating veteran-led fitness and community engagement. Veteran Treatment Courts offers treatment instead of incarceration for veterans facing mental health and substance related challenges. These initiatives share one vital principle. They treat the whole person, not just the symptom. Yet challenges still remain. Integrating community and clinical care for veterans is not easy. Some challenges include data sharing. Privacy laws can limit coordination. Funding. Grassroots organizations often rely on uncertain donations. Training gaps. Volunteers may lack specialized understanding. Burnout. Caregivers and peer mentors need support too. But these challenges are not insurmountable. They require coordination, investment, and a cultural shift. One that says healing isn't just a veteran's job or the VA's job. It's our job as a society. But these are things that we must continue to look at. When we ask veterans to serve, we ask them to give everything. Isn't it only right that veterans are offered everything in return? Our policy attentions, our scientific rigor, and our most profound community compassion. Veterans have timelessly defended our freedom and way of life. It is only right that continued work to ensure veterans the best possible care and support to improve their quality of life and allow them to navigate over the challenges posed by mental health conditions. The call to action is we must stand firm for the cause. We must engage with policymakers, advocate for sustained and increased funding for veteran mental health services, and amplify the voices of women veterans in the decision-making processes. Public awareness campaigns and education initiatives must continue highlighting veterans' unique challenges and the critical need to target solutions. Having the courage to stand and fight for the mental health care and support of veterans is not merely an act of advocacy. It is a moral obligation. By championing research, opposing detrimental policy cuts, and offering robust community support, we honor the service of all veterans, especially women veterans, and reaffirm our commitment to their well-being. Let us proceed with resolve, ensuring that the progress achieved thus far is a foundation for a future where all veterans receive the caring and comprehensive care we need. Let's not leave our veterans to navigate TBI, PTSD, dementia, and other mental health conditions alone. Let us meet them at the VA, at the grocery store, at the town hall, in the gym, and the neighborhood barbecue. Because our healing is not found in isolation. It is found in community. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Suggs, for your leadership and congratulations on the success of your chapter. That was a wonderful presentation. We're going to switch gears here in a second. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. You know, when I encounter a veteran and talk to them about the VA, and sometimes they say, oh, that's not for me, I don't need it, save it for somebody else who needs it. I'm like, this is for you. This is going to be helpful for your brothers and sisters who serve by you enrolling in the VA, because there's, especially now, there's something called the PACT Act, which many of you know about. It's the Promise to Address Comprehensive Toxics. And this is primarily for Vietnam veterans and Gulf War veterans who were exposed to horrendous toxins that made them sick. Gulf War veterans, we're starting to see more of them affected by burn pits and serious respiratory issues. And we already know that Agent Orange has done some serious damage to Vietnam veterans, and we're seeing it in hospice all the time. The more veterans that go to the VA, the more data that they get, and the more able they are to recognize new conditions that 10 or 12 veterans who served in the same conflict or same region are starting to show. So it's important for us to be part of the VA community. I did a presentation yesterday. There was a woman veteran who was going to the VA and raved about it. And there was another veteran there who said, my friend died in the VA and never stepped foot in it. Complete polar opposites. But the conversation is the same, you know, let us hear your story, good and bad, and let's figure out a way to move past it. One of the favorite things that I learned from the National Association of Black Military Women was about the 688, which is a group of Black women who were given a hellacious task when the mail being received during World War II was not organized. It was a heap of letters and bags that hadn't even been opened for soldiers who were fighting, coming from family and loved ones, and they couldn't figure out how to distribute this mail. And so they said, here, you do it. And they thought, oh, give it to the Black women. Yeah, right. And the Black women who got together for this, they went through it in very orderly fashion. They got all these letters to the soldiers. Some attribute the victory of World War II to this campaign, to the 688, to give the spirit back to those soldiers who had been broken from home. That communication line had been broken because nobody had the wherewithal to organize except for the 688. So can I get a round of applause for 688? This history is so crucial to our work today. Hearing the stories that are current is so crucial to today. There's another thing happening. Jack Morrow here is representing a VFW post I belong to in Harlem, 528, named after Dorrance Brooks. Dorrance Brooks was a World War I fighter from Harlem. He was one of the Harlem Hell Fighters. They named a square after him in Harlem, New York. It was the first public square to be named after a Black soldier. And it was profoundly significant because there was a colonel out there saying Black fighters don't fight as well as white fighters. Dorrance Brooks lost his commanding officers during battle. He picked up the leadership and he continued the fight, and they made profound progress. He died in battle, but his courage and leadership earned him to be recognized. That square is turning 100 this June, and Post 528 is planning something to celebrate this on June 21st. I really hope that it pulls off, because it's just, again, another piece of history that's so important to bring to the forefront and remind ourselves, remind people that are in the service now, and remind our community that this is what happened and this is why it happened. We're going to change gears a little bit. My partner here from MJHS, Alfredo Colon, I was showing up to the VA for an appointment not long ago, and I see an MJHS tent. I'm like, oh my God, I work for MJHS. Hello. And Alfredo, and he was promoting something called Elder Plan, which is an HMO at MJHS, which is extremely crucial because there's often times where you have in-home medical expenses that you can't cover. Elder Plan is, there's several versions of it, but I want Alfredo to talk about the one that's most fitting for veterans. If you wouldn't mind coming up, he's been with MJHS for a couple of years, and I'm so proud that he's here, and I'm learning from him every day. So without further ado.
Thank you very much. So, like he mentioned, I work at the VA, not inside the hospital, we work outside. So when they approach to us, the veterans, I go over a little bit the benefits that we offer, especially when it comes to long-term care, because we have the MAP plan. And the MAP plan is a plan that is attached with Medicare Advantage and long-term care. And instead of having a different plan, they can have elder plan for all their needs. Now, I know that a lot of them, they're not 100%. So that's when we come in also, and we provide the dental services that they don't get at the VA. We provide also vision. We provide also OTC card. The OTC card over the counter. So we have different stages because we have 4 different plans. So we have the one that provide 140 OTC card. So that's going to cover, supermarket. That's going to cover pharmacy, over the counter. Also, that's going to cover to pay utility bills, so they can pay, electric, gas, phone. So these are the benefits that Elder Plan offer. Especially when they're there, they come to me and I explain to them. So a lot of them, they don't even have like Part B. Why? Because they get in VA services. So they say, we don't need Part B. So I explain to them that there's a program called Medicare Savings Program, which they can pay for the Part B. And that's why I come in. I also explain to them, I can give them the form, they fill it out, and what they do is they go to the Medicaid office, or they send it by mail, and then they can get Part B. So that way they can have more benefit, with the elder plan. And when it comes to long-term care, we provide also more hours. They have maybe 10 hours, 5 hours. We can do a lot more. We send a referral for to get another evaluation, right? But for that, they need to have already if they're not getting home care, we'll do the evaluation, make sure that they qualify for the long-term care MAP program. So these are the benefits. So that's why I love to be there. They come to me to all kinds of questions, and even for Medicaid too, because sometimes they want to apply for Medicaid and they don't know how to do it. So that's why I come in also and I explain to them how to apply for Medicaid and for the Part B also, so they can get paid. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We're about to get to our Q&A, so I promise I'll be brief because we want this to be a conversation, not just a presentation. But I wanted to speak a little about the programs and the services that our offers through the team that Congressman Jeffries has assembled here provides. Because even though the Congressional Office is not a suicide prevention program, I think what has been brought up that is so true is that every program that supports veterans is in its own way a suicide prevention, a wellness program. The first that I want to speak about is the program that allowed me to be in front of you here today, the Green and Gold Congressional Aide Program. It's a thank you very much. That is a program where any member of Congress can hire a recently separated veteran at E5 or below, W2 or below, or O3 or below. So that'll be people who didn't make a career out of the military, like myself. There are advantages for the office. I'll speak very humbly here. I think every member of Congress should get a Green and Gold Aide. We have another Green and Gold Aide here today. He can speak to you as well individually about how the program works. Any members of Congress that are watching, get on it. But it's a great program. You get a 2-year, effectively a fellowship with an option for an extension. Any recently discharged service members who are interested in making a transition into government service, who want to be involved in the VSO space without being a VSO themselves, I highly recommend you look into it, and we have materials on that at the back. We also provide constituent services. I'm a big part of that here in our office. Dealing with the VA can be tough, even with the help of a great VSO. Sometimes you encounter a roadblock. Sometimes, who knows, an email gets sent to a typo email address and things slow down for months. Who knows how these things happen sometimes, but our office can step in and help support that as well. We can communicate with the right people in the VA to try to move things along. And finally, I just want to shout out our role as kind of acting as a bridge sometimes. We have a lot of people who don't know about the services out there, but they know they have a member of Congress, and so they call us. And so we're extremely proud to bring organizations like the National Association of Black Military Women, Black Veterans for Social Justice, and MJHS, and so many others together to have these conversations, and so that when people call us, we can point them in the right direction. I want to briefly shout out the Emory Veterans Health Program. We have some of their resources at the back as well, but they provide 2-week, completely free of charge intensive therapy for whatever may befall a veteran. They help with substance abuse problems. They help with mental health issues. They help with anger management. Whatever a veteran needs, you can get placed with Emory. They have a partner program in Massachusetts as well. They cover transportation, lodging. If you have a child, they can help with childcare. They can help arrange something. And even though that is not strictly a suicide prevention program, it is things like that are crucially important in getting each veteran the care that they need to stay well. It's been a bit of a heavy topic today. It's going to continue to be through the Q&A, but I do really want to take a second to thank all of you and to celebrate the fact that we are all here today. Because even though personally, and I know the congressman feels this way as well, we're still going to be angry and disappointed as long as the number of veteran suicides is above 0. That's just a fact. But that doesn't mean that we can't celebrate every time we prevent one. Every time we do something that keeps one veteran safe and healthy and allowing we should just like that. I'll thank you all for being here on Zoom, for being here in person, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. All right, we're going to start with the room. Anybody got a question? No? Okay, I got a question. I know. Yes, that would be great.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm from the Brain Injury Research Center at Mount Sinai. And so we are one of those research centers, Dr. Sutz, that you mentioned, conducting TBI research to try to the veterans. And one of the just gonna say that one of the challenges that we've had has been reaching veterans, and engaging them in research, so that we can have the most representative sample for our studies that we can. And so my question is for everyone in the room is, how can we as researchers better serve and reach the veteran community across New York City and in the broader area so that we can in and as a result connect them with services to the solution.
By making yourself more accessible within the community or within the boundaries of your center. Reaching out, partnering with community-based organizations, partnering with churches, with hospitals, but going where the veterans are. Most of all, contacting in your shelter system, right around in DHS, Department of Homeless Services. They have various reaching mechanisms to reach the veterans that can help you with the research and the questions and answers that you may have. But outreach is key. Outreach, going where they're at. The best thing, something that grabbed me, I'm a United States Army honorably discharged service-connected veteran. And what grabbed me was a piece of paper. Just something as simple as that, going where the veterans are in a park. She talked about the parks, the libraries, the hospitals, the churches, those community-based organizations like Black Veterans for Social Justice, Project Jericho, SUS. There's so many others that service veterans and meet them where they're at that will be happy to help you.
Thank you so much. And yes, the fact that you're here today and that everybody else is here, thank you again for taking the part both online and in person. It just is so meaningful. And this is the first step, getting in with a group that is doing veteran things. But the other side of the challenge is getting the veterans who aren't identifying as veterans to know about these services programs too. So working together is definitely key here. I'm going to take a question from Zoom. I think this is probably, I'll take volunteers. But what services are available for veterans facing eviction, financial assistance, etc. immediately? As these situations are very stressful and there is no immediate assistance available. Thank you. Okay.
Hi, Zoom question asked.
It was anonymous.
One of the things you can contact the HUD-1 services program. You can find those at Black Veterans for Social Justice. You can find your staff sergeant, not staff sergeant, SSVF programs that will work with you with immediate housing. Also, our homeless veterans reintegration program, which not only works with employment, but there's a component to help with housing as well. But the one that can help you right away, you're a veteran or you're in the home of a veteran, is the SSVF, Social Services for Veteran Families. And also, if you can find a HUD-1 or HUD-VASH programs, they can help you as well.
Yeah, I do also want to, there is a national hotline for homeless veterans as well that can generally help you get connected with the services that you were just speaking about. But if you remember, oh, there's a program, I don't remember what it is, I don't remember the name, you can always call the hotline. We'll make sure to send it out to participants afterwards so that everyone has that. But yeah, that's a good, easy, one-stop way to access some of those services.
Thank you. Yes, and just to follow up on that, this is being recorded, so everybody will get a copy of this, and then we will include contact information when we send that out to you and resources, the PowerPoint that was shared today. Yes, I'm
To give information to the person that asked the
Okay.
question.
awesome.
There, also in New York State Department of Veteran Services, there's the Veterans Emergency Housing Program that will grant veterans, a one-time payment per year if they need it for eviction, homelessness. They can also contact us, look us up online, and, any VSO will help you get started with that, Veterans Emergency Housing Program as well. I believe it's about $2,000 that they'll help you with.
I think it's good to add to that, the New York City, the Okay. Also, NewYorkCity.gov has what you call home base, which does something similar to. Actually, they actually give you support before you actually reach the connection, so you could get it up there too.
Thank you both for that helpful information. And the further support is through the City Department of Veteran Services. Commissioner Hendon's team is at the ready to take your call. And I would encourage you to seek out support from all of these groups because we do work together. But getting a little piece here and a little piece there sometimes is a really good way to go to get you to a place where life is improved. There's a question here from Irma Cooper for Dr. Suggs. Can you speak to the moral obligation to keep veteran, especially due to the way Vietnam vets were treated on returning home? Yeah. Do you want to address that about how veterans were treated upon returning home from Vietnam veterans, how they were treated when they returned home? Just before I hand the mic over, I just want to say something about VVSJ because Joe Mashariki started VVSJ as a Vietnam veteran because of how badly Black vets who fought in Vietnam in particular were finding it to find resources and support. He said, you know what, I'm just going to start my own organization. And it's 46 years strong this year, so that is huge. Dr. Suggs, you want to add to that? To Vietnam veterans,
In relation to veterans coming back into civilian world, that is a very lonely feeling. That is where family, friends, community plays a big part. Not just isolate them or overlook them, but reach out to them. To help them to get the help they need, because sometimes when we come back into civilian life, we don't necessarily want to reach out to the VA. We don't want to have to work through all the bureaucracy, going back and forth. So some veterans, they give up. But when we band together and community help us to get back to where we need to get to.
Thank you so much. Yeah, sometimes telling your story over and over when you go to a place like the VA can be really difficult. Telling the story once is a good start. And a lot of those veterans of Vietnam were drafted, so they were asked to do atrocious things that they would never have done. They were drafted. To avoid vet isolation, community involvement, and connecting with veteran organizations and support is important. That's also from Irma Cooper. Dr. Suggs, how can research help with vets' mental health? How can research help with veterans' mental health?
Research help with mental health because the more we do our research, it gives better treatment, innovation, open up doors to help study, to help people to get back to their life, a quality of life that they deserve. Research is very important. We can't stop studying what our problems call for. Medical, therapy, the clinicians that people can talk to now over video, therapy. We didn't have that years ago. So we have to continue to push research.
I'll also just add, there's a whole new generation of veterans that is coming to the age Ashton mentioned, dementia, where we're going to have to be able to tell the difference between, are they suffering from dementia, are they suffering from a TBI or PTSD, or some combination of those. And we have therapy, we have treatments, and there's a great team and many great teams around the country working on treatments. We can't forget about diagnosis as well. So the PACT Act was a good first step, getting more veterans in the system, but we do have to keep going. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm gonna turn it back to the room. Are there any questions or comments?
Well,
I'm
we
gonna-
have to be a research
Yes.
issue. You're afraid to because of back in the day. So don't be afraid. Go for it. You know, I had an opportunity when a physician had asked me to do. I had an opportunity. I'm a nurse in Mount Sinai Hospital Oncology, and I had an opportunity where a physician asked me to do a research. And I'm gonna tell you the truth. I hesitated. I'm like, oh no, I'm not gonna do that. And I had to talk to myself and say, no, you have to move on. You have to move forward. And I did it, but I have to tell you, I was afraid. So I have to be honest, you know, as a nurse, I was afraid to even contemplate doing that. And I did it, and I was proud of myself doing it because initially I was gonna say no.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Catherine. You know, the trust issue is huge, especially with veterans who've served and had some traumatic experience in history. Providers earning that trust from veterans to be able to have the research or the information needed for the research is a good thing to think about. And that we can all work together. There was another comment from Anonymous today. We need all organizations to work together to assist our veterans. The system promotes the stress veterans face. There needs to be policy for immediate assistance for food, money, immediate housing, not the shelter where veterans are assaulted and threatened. True, and it needs to be immediate, as the anonymous commenter stated as well. Yes, I think everything that we're doing and everything we're talking about has room for improvement. The fact that we're here today to continue this conversation, I think is a step in the right direction. Thank you so much for taking part in the MJHS Vet Cafe. Thank you, and those who are here in person, we do have some snacks and refreshments. Please feel welcome to stay and mingle a little bit and join us little refreshments. And thank you to our panel. Thank you so much, everyone.
Oh, you have like a list of everything that's available so that we could forward that to individuals.
Yes,